an extremely special grateful patient speaker. We feel fortunate that she can be in the room with us right now. Kelly Thomas was diagnosed at a mere 33 years old with stage 3C triple-negative breast cancer. Her story and journey is truly remarkable, and I was fortunate enough to hear her story firsthand in a small setting back in August. Kelly's faith in her oncology team at Monmouth Medical Center, her close patient relationship and trust in Dr. Cohen, and her positive outlook are some of the many talking points I am sure we will be lucky enough to listen to today. In addition, Kelly is an Instagram sensation and has been chronicling her cancer story and helping advocate for other cancer patients too. Kelly is an inspiration to us all and currently NED, which stands for No Evidence of Disease, an acronym I learned directly from her. Her journey of highs and lows over the past year and a half is certainly one worth listening to. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Kelly Thomas, our 2019 Grateful Patient Speaker.
Whew. I don't know how I followed that up. All right. I want to take this time and thank the Monmouth Medical Center Foundation for having me here today. It is a truly honor to be their grateful patient at one of their biggest fundraisers for the hospital. Every ticket sold, every dollar donated will help purchase a much needed piece of equipment at the breast center. So please give yourselves a round of applause. You're making a huge difference in the lives of women like me who continue to fight against breast cancer. With that being said, I say it's time to get this luncheon started. Let me formally introduce myself. My name is Kelly Thomas, and like many other women in their 30s, I was excelling in my career. I worked in finance the last 13 years with the ambitions of being a bank auditor. I was successful. I held every position in banking you could think of, and then it all came to a screeching halt. At 33 years old, I was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. If you don't know anything about triple-negative breast cancer, that's okay, I'm gonna teach you today. Triple-negative breast cancer is the most aggressive form of breast cancer. We have no receptors for doctors to target, which means that gives us less treatment options. Women most affected by triple-negative breast cancer are African Americans, Latinos, BRCA mutation carriers, and women under 40. We have the highest recurrence rates and the lowest survival rates, with an average recurrence of the first 3 years after diagnosis. You may be looking at me and wondering, this girl is so young. She must have breast cancer in her family. To that I say, not at all. I am the first case of breast cancer in my family. In fact, my oncologist tested me for 30+ gene mutations, and I came negative across the board. So the big question happens to be, how did this happen? And I will tell you the same thing my oncology team told me. Sometimes your cells just mutate. There's no rhyme or reason for it. You will drive yourself crazy if you're trying to figure out what you did wrong, when in fact, I did nothing wrong. I was a healthy person. I attended all my annual doctor's appointments. I never got sick. Occasionally, I would get an allergy every once in a while, but nothing that would hold me down. I did my monthly breast exams like all my doctors told me to. It was a Sunday morning. I sat on my couch, and I folded my arms. I found a massive lump on my left breast. It felt like a golf ball. Instant tears ran down my face. How could I have missed this? I was literally just at my OBGYN 4 months prior. Absolutely terrified, assuming the worst, I did what any civilized person would do. I asked Google. And you know what? I'm glad I did. Google told me that breast lumps didn't hurt, which mine did. Young women don't get breast cancer. And that women with cancer in their families were only at risk. Unfortunately, they were all incorrect. but for the moment, it gave me much needed hope. Statistically, women under 40 rarely get breast cancer, so our fight is a little different. Not just because we are the youngest ones at infusion centers or on the oncology waiting room, but we need to convince our doctors to trust us, and maybe it's not just another benign cyst. Walking into my mammogram, I got questioned why I was there. You're so young for a mammogram. Here we go again. But I felt confident. I don't have breast cancer. My family is probably nothing. I put the gown on, and things got real. I wanted to cry, but I held it in as long as I could. The mammographer sent the imaging to the doctor, looks at me and says, he doesn't like what he sees. We need to do this again. I explode into tears. We do the imaging once more, and I get sent over to ultrasound. The doctor takes the ultrasound and puts it to my chest and begins to count. 1, 2, raise your arm, 3, 4, 5. We're looking at 5 tumors right now. Whatever this is, we need to remove it immediately and biopsy it. I'm bumping your appointment to 2 days. I gaze over at the screen and look at this big black mass. That's my lump. He was the star of the show. I decided to give him a name. Larry. Larry the lump. The day finally came to find out the results of my biopsy, and I look at my phone. I have a missed call from my doctor. She leaves me a voicemail. She sounds happy. I call her back. Her voice instantly changes. You have a form of breast cancer. I have breast cancer. Am I going to be okay? She says, you need to see a breast surgeon immediately. I ask her, am I going to die? You need to see a breast surgeon immediately. And I hope you don't mind, but I already made an appointment with an amazing breast surgeon here at Monmouth, Dr. Sumi Chang. Yes, Monmouth Medical Center, the hospital I went to as a child for any type of condition, whether illness or sports injury. And as a former gymnast, I went there a lot. Monmouth Medical is 10 minutes from my house. I felt good about this decision. I met with Dr. Chang and had my first closed-door meeting appointment. The news turned from bad to worse. Going by my scans and my biopsy, I got diagnosed with stage 3C triple-negative breast cancer. 3C? That's right before stage 4. I grab my mother and I cry in her arms. I tell Dr. Chang, I will do whatever you tell me to do. I just want to live. The craziest part about all this, I felt like $1 million. Sure, I had this large lump on my chest and I couldn't stop touching in case it disappeared on me. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Denial is not just a river in Egypt and is a very real thing, especially being 33 years old and not believing this is really happening to me. Now, when you're diagnosed with cancer, especially being so close to metastatic breast cancer, you have a lot to process. I wanted to learn everything about triple negative. I read doctor research reports, I went on YouTube and even spoke to women with the same diagnosis as me. I read a lot of terrifying information. People die from what I have. I used to lay in my bed and cry. I acknowledged that this cancer was most likely going to kill me, but I decided to flip the script. What is crying in my bed going to do? If this is it, I'm going to live out the rest of my life with a positive mindset. I started to see life differently. Every morning I opened my eyes, filled my lungs with air. I was thankful. I stopped sweating the small stuff and started to really, truly live. Now, this is the part of my speech where I gush about how amazing my oncologist, Dr. Seth Cohen, is. I'm a full believer in the universe and how it sends people that you need in your life, and that's exactly what Dr. Cohen was. Sent to me during a time I needed him the most. When you have cancer, you have a team of doctors, but your oncologist is the quarterback of the team. You need someone knowledgeable, ready to roll up their sleeves, but cancer is complicated. It's not just a physical game, but a mental one too. You need an oncologist that doesn't just treat you physically, but mentally as well. Dr. Cohen made chemo fun. He always had a story to tell or a joke. Cancer treatment is really hard, but I look forward to every infusion thanks to him. I undergone 16 rounds of aggressive chemotherapy, a double mastectomy, 28 rounds of radiation. When my toxicology report came back, my breast surgeon discovered I had more cancer. This time, instead of triple negative, they found estrogen positive cancer. So what did we do? We wiped the tears off our face and we went back to the drawing board. I then did 6 months of oral chemotherapy to fight any lingering cancer cells that overstayed their welcome. I now stand before you as a Monmouth Medical Center success story. I currently have no evidence of disease and continue to thrive every day after breast cancer. But before I go, I want to leave you with a few takeaways. Cancer doesn't care how old you are, how much kale you eat, or how long you exercise for. It's important to know your body, know what's normal for you, go to your yearly mammograms and do your monthly self-checks. Report any new changes to your doctor immediately. 1 in 8 women will face a breast cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. October is vastly approaching, as many of you know, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And when October ends, most people go back to their normal lives, but not me. I will continue to see my oncologist every 8 weeks. I will get my tumor markers checked and discover any new symptoms as we work hard to ensure my cancer doesn't return. Let's not limit awareness to 1 month. We should be breast aware every month. Thank you.
So I'm going to share a couple of photos. So this was, I finished chemotherapy and we were doing a scan to see if all the chemo worked. And that was my good juju right before. I documented my whole story on Instagram and I continue to do so. So this one was, I had a mastectomy photo shoot. This is I did a lot of raw, honest photos. I never want to forget this fight, and I also want to encourage and enlighten young women that you can get breast cancer no matter if you have it in your family or not, if you have the gene mutation or not. And this is my superhero, Dr. Seth Cohen, the man who saved my life. The man, I would not be standing here in front of you if it wasn't for him. This was at a cancer event where I was speaking at. And that's my handle on social media, so feel free to follow me. And I want to thank Monmouth Medical Foundation once again for having me here. It's truly an honor to be here and speak with all of you. And don't forget to check your boobs every month.
Wait, before you go, Debbie. On behalf of Monmouth Medical Center, Debbie and I just wanted to present you with a gift. Thank you so much, Kelly. You did a great job.